Hi friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna start another reading vlog for you that I'm super excited about. This is not the official start of the vlog. I want to properly open it up tomorrow when I'm looking a little bit more put together. And I'll tell you the vlog's theme and which books I'm going to be reading and all of that. But I did want to start with Beneath a Pale Sky by 𝒑𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒔𝒕. And I've already started this one earlier today. I'm only on page 18, but I wanted to update you with some of my thoughts right now. So this opens up with a foreword by Josh Malerman, and I'm rating that introduction 5 out of 5 stars. He definitely has me interested in these short stories, and I don't know, just the way he talked about the horror genre, and I don't know, it just built in a lot of nostalgia and a lot of excitement for what's to come. And then the first story in here is called Harvest, and it's part 1, Blue Sky. And the imagery, the atmosphere, the detail, everything, I definitely think you should read this in September. Let me read you the first little paragraph. It's only like a couple sentences. The blue sky was vast. Corn stalks reached to the heavens, unfurled green leaves turned upward like praying hands with crispy brown fingertips. Late September heat simmered and circled. And it's just, oh, it's so good so far. And from the atmosphere I was getting, I was definitely not expecting the event that's happening to be what is happening, but it's very, very cool so far. Like I said, only 18 pages in, but I'm already really liking like I said, the introduction and the first short story so far. But I'm going to read more of this tonight, and then I will properly open the vlog tomorrow and let you know more of my thoughts and what else I'm going to be reading in this vlog. I didn't make it one of my official goals for 2021, but it was one of my low-key goals for 2021. And yeah, so I'm here to start doing that. The goal is to read and explore the horror genre a bit more, because I've read thrillers. I know what I like in thrillers. I've read romance. I know what I like in romance. I've explored fantasy quite a bit. Not adult fantasy, but YA fantasy. And while I do enjoy stories from time to time, it's really hit or miss. But horror, I haven't really read a ton of horror. I have read some. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, Mexican Gothic, Bird Box. There's a few other, there's a handful, but one that I recently read and really enjoyed was Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by 𝒂𝒄𝒂𝒔𝒕, and loved that so much so that I went and purchased 4 more horror novellas from Weird Punk Books. I got a t-shirt from them. They sent me a sticker, a postcard, a bookmark, like all the things. That was so sweet of them. But yeah, so I figured I have these. I also recently got a Nightworms Box, which is a horror subscription box that my friend Marcy always talks about. And I thought that that would be also a way to get like this random book, because I knew I wasn't going to have it, whatever it was. I could get this random book and, you know, read that and see if I liked it and if I wanted to get another box and so forth. I really did like the box. I actually got 2 books in there. I got Goblin by Josh Malerman, which is a collection of short stories all about this town of Goblin. And I am going to read that, not in this vlog, but in another vlog I have planned. But I also got Beneath a Pale Sky by 𝒑𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒔𝒕. And I am actually currently reading this one. So let me set my coffee down. Wish I had a better place, but there we go. Okay, so Beneath a Pale Sky is also a collection of short stories, and it does have an introduction by Josh Malerman. I started this yesterday after I finished my previous read. I read the introduction. It just had me so hyped to read this. And like I said, I don't know much about the horror genre. I'm exploring it, so I may say something wrong. I'm just giving you like my thoughts all of my thoughts are coming from like a complete noob as far as like the horror genre is concerned. But yeah, the introduction was really, really good. It had me really, really excited to dive in. I'm also just kind of like in this horror thriller mood because I recently watched that Fear Street part 1, 2, and 3. I think the first one was set in the 80s or 90s, 1994, I think. And then it was the 1970 whatever, and then it was the 1666 one. So I've recently watched all of those, and also I went to go make some returns, and I stopped off at home and I got some new like Halloween decor. I'm absolutely obsessed with hands. I actually have quite a bit of them. Yeah, that's what that one looks like. So I got that as like a Halloween decoration, but I mean, let's be honest, it's gonna be a year-round decoration, but it's like a hand, but that has like henna, but it has like the eye. So I don't know, I just really, really love it. And this one was, as you can see, I saw the price tag on it, $12.99, and it's from the Halloween collection, Lunar Magic. That's what it says on there. Yeah, so it's starting to smell like fall in my house. It's starting to look like fall in my house, and I'm just in a very like horror mood. So I thought it would be perfect to do another one of those videos because you guys really liked my first one where I read books that you can read in a day. So under 250 pages, horror books that you can read in a day. And yeah, I'm really excited. So let's go ahead and go through these. Like I said, the first one is Beneath a Pale Sky. It is a collection of short stories, and each one seems to be vastly different, but maybe they will all be like a collection. Who Rules the Dead by Maria Abrams. Then we have the Mud Ballad, which I have heard people talk about, and they said it is very gross and has like a lot of animal things, I believe. And then we have The Wingspan of Severed Limbs. Oh gosh, I'm scared. This one I have is 17 Names for Skin, which it just has the most disturbing cover. All right, I'm getting on my shoes because Daniel and I are gonna walk down to the library. I have a couple of holds. They are. Charlie! Here I am. Here I am. Come here. Come here. Come here. Did you miss me? Did you miss me? I just got my books. You ready? You ready? Come on. We are back from our walk to the library. I got a bag of books. I was taking a look at my library, and I do have 2 more books on hold. They're in process, so that means they're probably coming from another branch. The first one is Alice Isn't Dead by Joseph Fink, and the second one is The Burning Girls by C.J. Tudor. I thought I would check in with you and give you a reading update, but before I do that, I have been spending a large portion of the day watching events on the Olympics. I watched some of the equestrian stuff, I watched some tennis stuff, I also took a nap, but now let's do the reading update. So I am currently starting the 3rd short story in here. I just finished reading Wheel, and it was good. It wasn't horrifying to me, and I did like the first short story a little bit better, so I'm gonna rate Wheel 3 stars. I rated the first one, Harvest, 3.5, and since they have all of the stories listed out here, I'm rating each of the short stories. I'm just rating my rating right in there. So the Wheel will be 3 stars, and I do hope that it gets better. The Wheel was very interesting. ending. I liked how it had like 2 different timelines that kind of met up. I think it was very obvious what was going to happen from the get-go, and it does have the Ferris wheel. The cover is part of that story. So I think it was obvious what was going to happen once you had the one timeline set up and the other timeline set up, like the 2 different plot lines. You knew they were going to converge. I knew it was going to happen, and that is what happened. And then kind of all the little details throughout were good. It's well written. I like the description and all of that. All right, I just finished reading 𝒍𝒊𝒏𝒌𝒔. That was the 15-page short story. I'm gonna rate that one 3 out of 5 stars as well. That one was very short, and it was very weird and ominous, and it reminded me of an episode of like The Twilight Zone. So I really did enjoy it, but it just didn't give me quite enough to go on. But I wanted to read you a couple of blurbs that people on the back said. So Zoe Sage, the author of Baby Teeth and Getaway, said that 𝒍𝒊𝒏𝒌𝒔 is an artist who paints with words. I don't know if I've ever read a book that left me with so many striking images, and I definitely agree. It's just super atmospheric. You know what you're reading, you know what everything looks like. Love that. And then Bookless said this is a collection that articulates the dark emotions of the genre itself: unease, anxiety, and dread. And each story so far has checked all 3 boxes: unease, anxiety, and dread. All 3 stories. So this collection is killing it. It's just, I don't think like my personal favorite, and I don't know if it's like the short story thing or like what, because these are definitely like well written. I think the first was probably my favorite, obviously, because that was like 3.5 stars and then 3 stars and then 3 stars. But anyway, I am moving on to one symphony, and this one is 21 pages long. So I will read that and I will get back with you. Well, that's what takes all-weather furniture, low maintenance, made partially from recycled materials, made in the USA. That's what we like. Wait a second. Ooh, they even have like that little bean thing on it. Yeah. With the little plasticky thing over it. So we finally got our Adirondack chairs. This is what they look like. We've been waiting 16 to 18 weeks for these bad boys. I read a couple more stories in here. I don't know if I updated you or not. I was watching a lot of the Olympics last night. So I read, let's see, 5 short stories so far, and here are the ratings. The Harvest is still my favorite. It got 3.5. The Wheel got 3. 𝒍𝒊𝒏𝒌𝒔 got 3. Symphony got 2. And then this last one that I read was really weird. I gave that one 2 stars. But that one, like, if worms and bugs and things like that freak you out, I think that that one would be really gross, because it was really gross even to me. But I'm like, is that horror or is that sci-fi? So after that short story last night, I wanted to start one of these novellas. So I picked up, I just had them sitting under my nightstand, and I just picked the one on top, and that was Mud Ballad by Jo Quinnell. And I read the prologue last night, and it was in the then, and it's about these conjoined twin brothers, and I guess they're in this traveling carnival type thing, and they had asked I guess the doctor that checks on the different carnies to separate them, and I guess he had refused that operation. So one of the brothers kills the other brother, like slits his throat. Yeah, and then the doctor does the separation, obviously, because one of the conjoined twins is dead. And that was really it. That's all I read. So it's just setting up the atmosphere and, you know, what happened and the funeral, and yeah. Now you're really getting a view of my messy office. I just read one more story in Beneath the Pale Sky. Is it Beneath a Pale Sky? And it was the ID one. And I really, really liked that one. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. It was about this man that goes to this psychiatric ward in this hospital. And there is a green ward and a blue ward. And yeah, he describes the wards and things that happen and all of this. And even though it had like an ambiguous ending at the end and I didn't quite fully understand it, it just totally had me engaged the whole time. It was definitely like creepy vibes. So yeah, that one is probably my favorite so far. I don't know, like I liked Harvest a lot too. Like Harvest is like sticking with me. So but I gave that one 3.5 because I really wanted more from it. But I could probably say the same thing about ID, but I don't know, really liked it. So I only have a couple more to go now. Great news, folks. I finished my first book. Very, very happy that I'm finally done with this. One thing that I will say before I go through all of my star ratings for all of the stories is I really do like the description and the atmosphere and the vibes. As far as a nightmare scale, for me personally, it's like a 1, but I might bump it up a little bit to like maybe a 2, maybe a 2.5, because there were things that I could see other people kind of being a little bit more squeamish about. And there was one particular story, the one that I really can't say the name of, what is it called? Atticus, I think, that had like a worm type of thing that was kind of gross. But now we are going to go through our ratings. The first story, Harvest, 3.5 stars. I think that's the one that I will remember the most fond of, even though it has the it doesn't have the highest rating of all the stories, but it's the one that I'm going to remember most fondly. So 3.5 for Harvest. The Wheel got 3, 𝒍𝒏𝒏𝒌𝒔 got 3, Symphony got 2, Atticus got 2, ID got 4. And I think the reason why I got 4 is because I love like asylum type stories. So really liked that one. Fragile Dreams got a 1 star, you guys. It was, I think, I'm not sure, I didn't break it down by like page number, but that one just went on forever and ever. Let me even find it. Okay, Fragile Dreams, 179 to like 230 something, 233. So it was definitely the longest short story in here. And it was essentially about, and I'm not really sure, to be completely honest, like what happened, what was real, what wasn't. There was kind of flashes. I believe this is what it was about. A man goes in for an interview. He lives in California. There is an earthquake. The building that he is in collapses and he is trapped beneath the rubble. And he's down there for days and days and days until he may or may not be rescued. And obviously a building is crushed on top of him. So you can imagine the pain he's in, the injuries that he has endured and all of that. Yeah, and then it would flash to like other parts of his life and things that were going on or have happened in the past. And then the ending part of it as well, I was like, what happened? So I don't know. And then the last story, it was a short story, a short story, was Death, My Old Friend, and I gave that 3 stars, and it probably would have been like 3.5 or 4 stars if the ending would have been a little bit more clear as to what happened. It wasn't, so it got 3 stars. So overall, I averaged it out and it came to a 2.6875 rating. So I think I'm gonna give it 2 3/4 star rating for this collection. So a couple of takeaways is I really did like the writing. I just don't know if I like this short story form of his. And in the back, in the about the author page, which is right here, I thought that was very, very cool. It says that he has a book coming out in October of 2021, so in just like a couple of months, and it's called Boys in the Valley, and it says it's a novel. So it says his novel Boys in the Valley is coming October 2021 from Earthlings Publications. So I'm very interested to check out the synopsis of that and see if it's something I want to read. Maybe it's just his short story form that I don't like, but his description and his writing and characters and stuff like that, I really did like that. So I might check that out, I might not, but 2 3/4 star for this collection. Let's hope some of the other stuff scares me a little bit more. Finished Mud Ballad. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. There were some really gruesome like body horror scenes. Like there was this like infection and it had scabbed over, or it was cauterized, and he like bit into it past the pus to get the blood. Ooh, so disgusting. And also just thinking about the hogs fighting. Have you guys seen that movie? Not The Silence of the Lambs, but the one after it with the hogs and the farm and stuff. Kind of reminded me of that. Yeah, so maybe there's some horror stuff there for you. Didn't terrify me, just grossed me out, which is the point of horror. So yes, I'd say like 3 on the nightmare scale, maybe 4. It is very early in the morning, but I wanted to give you a reading update on The Goners. I made it to page 64, which is about halfway, but I'm really curious why the font was literally so freaking small. Like, I almost want to say that this book would be double in size if the font size was quote unquote normal. But anyway, I'm not really enjoying this. I'm not really getting slasher vibes. There seems to be a person or an entity hunting down people, but the way it's told is very disjointed because you have different kind of time periods and different like people that it's following. So chapter 1, Jamie Brooks, part 1, and then you have chapter 2, Christopher Price, part 1. And then chapter 3, Jamie Brooks, part 2, and so on. And the writing doesn't really strike me as something that I'm enjoying either. Like I said, it could just be like the disjointedness of the story. Nothing seems to be like too scary, too gory, too ominous, just because I don't know. I am trying to figure out like what's going on. I probably would have DNF'd this already if I weren't reading it for this video and if it wasn't so short. So maybe that's why they made it so short. But yeah, I'm gonna finish this today. I'm determined to finish this today, and then I will update you on my full thoughts at the end. I have a little bit of good news. I have made it to page 82, and I think I have finally, it took me this long to figure out why there was a part 1 and a part 2. Part 1 is when the person gets taken out by this person or entity, and part 2 is when they are discovered by the paramedics. So one of the guys that had a part 1, his son was one of the people killed, or his son was killed in a part 1. Yeah, so there's like them being taken, hunted down, killed, and then there is the paramedic side of things. So I have figured that out, but it's still not really making me enjoy the story anymore. I don't know why they're being taken. I don't know why they're left in the circumstances they are when the paramedics find the person. Hopefully I'll get more answers as I continue reading. I have finished The Goners by Elle Stevenson, and it does say the first gripping chapter of the Biltmore Butcher trilogy, so I'm not sure if there is going to be more. It seems like there would be, although there were several chapters throughout this, so I don't think I'm going to be continuing on in the series. I'm pretty sure I won't be, but I'm going to rate this one 2.5 stars, definitely low on the nightmare scale, and I was confused for much of the story, like the flow and what was happening, and I don't know, the characters would all kind of mix in my head, but about halfway through I started getting more grounded in the story. When the ending happened, I was like, that came out of left field, so I was thinking like maybe 2 stars, but then there was a surprise at the end that I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, so I rounded it, I gave it a half a star more, because I just can't get over like the writing and I don't know, all of that. But 2.5 stars for this one. Originally I said it was going to be like slasher vibes, and it definitely was not. There's just these people getting killed on this island, and you have a set of like 3 guys that are like the paramedics that go around and are trying to figure out what's happening and stuff like that. So, y'all, I really hope you're taking my opinions with a grain of salt. Every time I go to log one of my reviews and give it a star rating, I notice that I'm like one of the only ones that has a low star rating. Other people are rating these stories 4 and 5 stars. I feel extremely bad, but it's all a matter of personal taste. So like I said, take my opinions with a grain of salt. The next one I am going to tackle is She Who Rules the Dead. Very excited about this one. The font seems normal size. It is about a man named Henry who has to sacrifice 5 people to the demon that's been talking to him in his nightmares. Should be a good one. Some reading updates, book mail. I finished She Who Rules the Dead, and I rated this one 3 stars because it was very fast paced. I mean, I read it this morning before recording for the podcast this afternoon, and I liked how it would show the people being like killed, kidnapped, killed, and then how the one girl was kidnapped and she was trying to, I don't know, get loose or escape or whatever. So I really did like that, but overall it was just kind of like average. I think this almost would have been better as like a full-length novel. Like more could have definitely been added to the story to make it like beefed out a little bit more. Yeah, but I rated this one 3 stars. And my next read is 17 Names for Skin by Roland Blackburn, and this is about a young woman who is diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 cancer. She has 6 months to live, and she takes out an insurance policy for her life online, so they don't really know that she has cancer or anything like that. Her father is very financially dependent on her. He is retired and he's in a wheelchair and he's on oxygen, and for his medication and stuff like that, he definitely depends on her to help pay for those costs. So she took out the insurance policy so he could get that insurance policy when the time came, and if something like she gets murdered or something like that, there's a double payout for her insurance policy. And so she decides to hire a assassin from the dark web to take her out, so her father gets this like massive payout, but things don't exactly go as planned. I'm not very far. I am on page 40 of this one. Earlier today I read up to about page 23, and then I did the podcast, recorded, edited, messed around, did other things, and then I've read up to page 40 so far. I was hoping to finish this one today. It is 168 pages. I'm here with a reading update. Let me crack the window. That gives a little bit more light on the situation, but not much. It is rainy and gloomy today. And that's what the sky looks like. On 17 names for skin. I made it to page 108 last night, and it is 168 pages, so I'm hoping to finish this today. I'm also hoping to finish this one today, The Wingspan of Severed Hands. So 17 Names for Skin by Roland Blackburn. I did notice something about the cover that I didn't notice before. I also like how the titles are all different names or synonyms that you could use for skin, such as membrane, veneer, shell, derma, peel, husk, fleece, scale, pelt, exoskeleton, skin. So I thought that that was very interesting, and the cover and the title chapter names I didn't really pick up on until the end. So basically you have this woman living in Portland. She is a body piercer in this like tattoo shop, and she helps her father financially. He's in a wheelchair, he's on oxygen, he takes a lot of medications, and she finds out that she has stage 4 cancer. So she decides to take out an insurance policy on her life, and they tell her that it is a double payout if she is murdered or something crazy like that happens. Like if she doesn't die from natural causes, it's a double payout. So she decides to hire a dark web assassin to kill her so her father can get that double payout. She ends up going to this part, so she finds the assassin, she pays $2,000, she goes to this Halloween party, and it's the end of the night, you know, nobody's tried to kill her or anything, so her and a couple of her friends are like walking home or whatever, and there is this attack, and something happens to her and her dog and one of the other girls, and you know, all of that sort of things. But then something happens to her that makes her start transforming into these different animals, like a werewolf or a jellyfish, or you know, just different things. So the story does become quite repetitive as far as like she turns into one animal, and her friend are trying to figure out why she's turning into these animals, if this assassin is after her still, who these people are that do seem to be after her. There's a lot of like things that they're trying to figure out like together, but I really do like the friendship vibes. I also like that her dog is in the story and has his own little transformation thing happening. But is it horror? Not really. Is it even thrilling? Not really. But it's not like a contemporary either, so I don't know how you would really classify it. But it wasn't really gross or anything like that at any point. But it's more about her transformations and trying to figure out why it's happening, can she control it, and all of that. Friends, I am on my way to meet my best friend for dinner, but I wanted to talk about The Wingspan of Severed Hands. I tried to start that this afternoon, and I just don't think that's gonna work. As I have mentioned in several times throughout this reading vlog, I am new to the horror genre. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I don't like. I don't know what subgenres I want to read or which ones I will enjoy or gravitate towards. I basically know nothing. I have read a handful of horror in my lifetime. I have read some like true crime. You guys know I love thrillers, but horror isn't something that I've ever really read before. So this year I'm trying to make an effort to get more into the genre as a whole. Unfortunately, that means that I'm gonna have a lot of flops along the way, which is fine. Sorry, there's these geese just traveling down the road. There's going to be a lot of flops along the way, and I'm okay with that. I didn't know that this particular book, and this author writes literary horror, which I didn't even know that was a thing. But I can tell you right now, I don't like literary fiction, much less literary horror. So I only got a few pages into this until I decided, nuh-uh, not happening. I do not like this. I do not like the direction it is going. This is not for me, and I don't feel like pushing myself through it when I'm literally not going to understand anything that happens. I'm not going to understand anything, and I'm not going to enjoy a second of it. So because I know I'm not going to enjoy it just because of the writing style, the linguistic choices, the prose itself, I'm not going to push myself to read this. So I'm definitely going to have to pay a little bit more attention in the future and make sure that I am avoiding literary horror. All right, friends, I'm coming to you from my car because it's literally the only place I have to talk to you. So I wanted to fill you in on those quotes I was going to tell you last night, or read a few passages of this to give you an idea of why it did not work for me. So like I said, I didn't know it was literary horror going in. The author clearly says that they write literary horror. This first paragraph right here, and this is one egg, Euthanasia Days. Flowers in her hair, flowers in her eyes, flowers in her mouth. Each step down the aisle tripped wires on a spiral spring trap. Forced to fit into her mother's dress, her mother's dress. The heirloom lace snared Adrina's struggling flesh like a hunter's net. The dress, nothing like the girl, cleaned and made right for this special day. Adrina's unruly body refused discipline, an animal intent on its desires, offending the ceremony, defiling the dress. No choice after her mother caught them, not their fearful fleeing bodies, not the boy in the act of wheedling, but their stripped and scattered clothes abandoned in the den. Hateful alarm, the door knob clicked. So, as you can see, I almost feel like I'm reading poetry, but not the type of poetry that I like. And then it just goes into, let's see, another one. Captive in the dragon's cave, sweat sent Adaria into shivers. The walls tightened against her shoulders. She counted by fives to settle her mind. 5, 10, 15, 20. The shower stall was damp, always damp. Sickening snails of moisture snaked down the tempered glass. Scummy spirals and sinister lesions hung sticky with wiggling beads. Adaria trembled with a droplet that bulged like a great bulbous eye and popped from its socket. It stared with salacious horror and an alien's incomprehensible lust, while the walls of the small room sweated and shook. Naked, the eye leaned toward and dangled on wet optic nerve rooted to the glass. It swelled in obscene colors like swirling oil as it ogled Adaria on the toilet. I just can't. I don't even know what I read. I literally, it's like poetry. So some people are really, really going to love this writing style, and others, like myself, are not going to love it. So I had to DNF this collection. It just was not for me. But I want to just quickly review everything that I read. So I started off with Beneath a Pale Sky, a collection of short stories, novellas by 𝒍𝒊𝒏𝒌𝒔, and I individually rated the stories. And to be completely honest, because I am still completely new to the horror genre and subgenres and the writing and the authors and just like literally everything, take my ratings with a grain of salt, because even looking back over my ratings for these individual novellas and these stories, I'm like, maybe it's a little bit higher, maybe it's a little bit lower, I don't know. So Harvest 3.5, The Wheel 3, Soda Jerk 3, Symphony 2, Atticus 2, ID 4, Fragile Dreams 1, Death My Old Friend 3. So I added that all up and got an average of 2.75 for my star rating for the collection. But it could easily be rounded up to a 3, but then there was like not a lot I really enjoyed in there, so it would probably be a 2. So I don't freaking know. We already know that I DNF'd this one. The Mud Ballad, this is one that I rated 2 stars, but I do kind of remember liking it more. It feels like I liked it more than a 2 stars looking back on it now. So maybe a 3, but I don't know. So 2 or 3 stars for that one. Goners, same thing. I rated this 2.5 stars, maybe a 3, maybe a 2. Don't really remember, but 2.5 stars.
She Who Rules the Dead, really fast, really like crazy, really liked aspects of it, but didn't like kind of where it went in the end. I rated this one 3 stars, but it is like a kidnapping type story, so that was very interesting. And then last but not least, yesterday I finished 17 Names for Skin, and I rated this one 3 stars, which is crazy because it just was like an average story. I kind of think all of these were just average. I think all of these were 3 stars. So around the 3-star mark, none of them were like new favorites. None are some that I could like personally recommend. But like I said, I am totally new to the horror genre. So like I said, take everything I say with a grain of salt. But that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any like favorite horror novellas that you think I would really like, leave your recommendations in the comment section down below, and maybe I will do a part 2 to this. But that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting my channel. I hope to see you guys in another video again very soon. Bye.